TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News, broadcast to you from Jerusalem. Today marks 1 year since Israel and the Iranian proxy Hezbollah, under US Brokerage, reached a ceasefire arrangement, while tensions remain very high. Israeli Defense Minister Yisrael Katz says a peaceful resolution between Damascus and Jerusalem is unlikely anytime soon. The IDF, ISA or Shin Bet, and Border Police Special Operators launch an operation called 5 Stones against pockets of terror throughout the Northern Samaria Region. Prospects for a peace, normalization, or a comprehensive security arrangement between Jerusalem and the new Damascus regime of Ahmed al-Shara are not likely to materialize anytime soon. In a closed meeting of Israeli Parliament's Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, Defense Minister Yisrael Katz explicitly stressed that Israel is not progressing towards establishing peaceful relations with Syria. In a leaked recording from the meeting, Jerusalem's top defense official voiced alarm over forces in Syria that are keen on launching a ground invasion into the Golan Heights communities. However, Minister Katz stressed that the IDF is taking such scenarios into account as part of its defensive posture. The Israeli Defense Minister continued by expressing Israel's unwavering resolve to protect the Druze community in southern Syria, a governorate called Sueda, where approximately 550,000 Druze reside, alongside less than 50,000 Christians. These communities have effectively been under siege by Damascus forces, alongside jihadi militias that operate on Damascus's behalf, while granting it room to employ so-called plausible deniability. And while tensions remain high, with near-daily violations by regime forces of the fragile ceasefire reported along Sueda governorate, and while the Druze and Christian communities in the besieged region face deteriorating humanitarian conditions, the IDF has developed contingency plans that, according to Jerusalem's top defense official, include practical intervention and sealing the border if clashes recur in Sueda. Turning to the Gaza Strip, where the remains of 2 murdered hostages, to include 1 Israeli civilian and 1 Thai national, remain in Hamas captivity to date, 783 days since the Islamist Palestinian terror groups, including the terror affiliates of the Islamist Hamas, launched their heinous attack against the southern communities of Israel on October 7th of 2023.
We still have 2 more hostages in captivity, 2 more hostages, a violation under the ceasefire, as Hamas and other terror factions inside of Gaza claim they can't find them. Palestinian terrorists took our people on October 7th, and you do not just lose people, you take captive. Prime Minister Netanyahu has made it clear, we will not rest until all of our hostages are back home. We will do everything to bring back home our people. Under his leadership, we have recovered and rescued 253 hostages, and of those, 168 were recovered alive, and 85 of them were recovered deceased.
Meanwhile, the IDF continues to encounter Hamas terror operatives who are violating the ceasefire by entering the sterile yellow zone, which under President Trump's 20-point plan remains under complete IDF control.
Over the past week, the IDF eliminated more than 20 terrorists and apprehended 8 additional terrorists who attempted to flee from underground terror infrastructure in that area.
Among the 20 terrorists eliminated, 6 terrorists emerged out of subterranean infrastructure in the southern town of Rafah.
This morning, surveillance identified 6 terrorists that likely emerged out of subterranean infrastructure. The terrorists were struck from the air as part of closing the circle. We immediately started searches by forces in the field. During the search, we identified 6 armed terrorists who attempted to flee. We eliminated 4 terrorists from short distance.
Meanwhile, amid efforts to confront terror elements throughout the West Bank districts of Judea, Samaria, and the Jordan Valley, the IDF, ISA or Shin Bet, and Border Police special operators have launched a large-scale counter-terrorism operation titled 5 Stones in the Northern Samaria Region, an area that is regarded as a hotbed for Iranian-backed terrorism.
The IDF, Shin Bet, and Border Police launched a large-scale counter-terrorism operation in northern Samaria. We will continue to ensure that there is no safe haven for terrorists inside of Judea and Samaria, and our security forces will continue to act forcefully to thwart terror activity and will reach anyone who wants to harm our citizens and our soldiers.
It is important to highlight that according to the IDF spokesperson's unit, over the past year, terrorists from the areas in which security forces are operating have carried out numerous terror attacks against Israeli civilians and security forces. Meanwhile, on the first days of the 5 Stones operation, security forces searched well over 220 sites, questioned dozens of suspects, and apprehended several wanted individuals. Additionally, based on concrete intelligence, the forces located weapons, dismantled terrorists' hideouts, and confiscated tens of thousands of shekels intended to be used for terror. Turning to Lebanon, where the Israel Air Force continues to enforce Jerusalem's directives to enforce the terms and conditions of the ceasefire aggressively.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has made it clear this week that under his leadership, the state of Israel will not allow Hezbollah to rebuild its power and will not allow it to pose a threat to the state of Israel ever again. The Prime Minister expects the Lebanese government to fulfill its commitment to disarm the terror organization. This week, Israel took action to eliminate a dangerous terrorist and a mass murderer whose hands are soaked in the blood of Israelis and Americans. Before he was eliminated, Hezbollah's chief of staff, Ali Tabatabai, was working to rearm the terror organization after it suffered tremendous blows by our security forces. Prime Minister Netanyahu has made it abundantly clear. Israel operates without depending on anyone, and immediate actions to thwart attacks are carried out automatically by the IDF. Israel decides without dependence on any external party on how to defend itself, remove threats, and repel attacks. Israel is responsible for its own security and will secure all of its borders. That's why Israel is continuing to strike terrorism on several fronts.
In line with Jerusalem's resolve, the Israeli Air Force, guided by the Military Intelligence Directorate, struck and dismantled Hezbollah terror infrastructure in several areas in southern Lebanon. Among others, the IDF struck several launch sites where Hezbollah weapons were stored. Additionally, according to the IDF spokesperson's unit, IAF aircraft struck a storage facility that contained weapons, military posts that were used by Hezbollah terrorists to advance terror attacks against IDF troops, as well as additional terror infrastructure sites. It is important to highlight that today marks 1 year exactly since the United States mediated a cessation of hostilities arrangement between the Iranian proxy Hezbollah and Israel. Since the ceasefire took effect on November 27, 2024, Israel enforced a ceasefire aggressively, eliminating more than 370 Hezbollah terror operatives, to include the terror group's chief of staff, Haytham Ali Tabatabai. These eliminations coincided with approximately 1,200 intelligence-driven operations against Hezbollah infrastructure, in accordance with the terms and conditions laid out by the American brokered ceasefire. In other news, Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar concluded an official visit to Argentina, where he held consecutive meetings with President Javier Milei, Foreign Minister Gerardo Betain, and Defense Minister Luis Petri. The visit also included meetings with Argentina's business community, as Jerusalem and Buenos Aires are very keen on bolstering the economic ties between the two countries.
Our governments are extremely close. We want to strengthen economic and people-to-people ties. We have a big Jewish community here in Argentina and a very big community of Argentinian immigrants, Olim, in Israel. This is a significant human bridge that can assist in the establishment of these economic strong relations. We want to dramatically increase our investments in Argentina. I'm pleased to announce Israel's decision to open an economic attaché office here in Buenos Aires in 2026. This also shows our commitment to increasing our economic partnership.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to say thank you once more to you if you are a supporter of TV7 Israel, since your donation is essentially helping us produce our daily news updates from here in Jerusalem. If you haven't yet supported TV7 Israel, which is exclusively donation-based, please consider doing so. You can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Separately, as ever, pray for our brothers and sisters facing persecution globally, along with prayers for the peace of Jerusalem and the redemption of Israel. I'm Jonathan Essen, wishing you a blessed Thanksgiving and Erev Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update. Shalom from Jerusalem.